Now we move over to the region's defining crisis, the war in Gaza, where 36 aid trucks entered the enclave yesterday, Palestinian officials have claimed. Officials say at least 600 truckloads of aid were needed daily, adding the population's needs are worsening. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu refutes the claims and accuses Hamas of stirring up a slanderous propaganda campaign against Israel. He says the cruelty of Hamas has no boundaries while the State of Israel allows humanitarian aid to enter Gaza. Hamas terrorists deliberately starve our hostages and document it in a cynical and evil way. The terrorists of Hamas also deliberately starve the residents of the Strip by preventing them from receiving any aid. Those are the words of the Israeli Prime Minister there. We are joined by, once again, Ali Mohammed Bushback to discuss this further. Ali, what are your thoughts on the statement, which is continued by Benjamin Netanyahu and also members of his government and his cabinet, that there is no starvation in Gaza and that Hamas is looting all of the aid from these trucks? What is your analysis of that statement there?
Joshua, the situation on the ground is completely behind the imagination. It's terrible, and I mean, it's very tough to tolerate such kind of famine and starvation in Gaza. 36 of the trucks and aid trucks to enter Gaza is not sufficient, and especially this kind of report leaked by, it's by the international organization that they are mediating between Palestinian and Israel and neutral in this conflict. Especially, we are talking about United Nations, we are talking about Human Rights Watch, and we are talking about several of international community who's issued this kind of report, especially on the ground. The situation is terrible. I've talked to several of civilians in Gaza, and I asked them about the market. They confirmed there is no vegetable in market. There is no supplies in market. Worth mentioning that, Joshua, most of the track that into Gaza, it's looted by civilians, the hunger civilians, and militant gangs people. That's make it unjust to discriminate this aids to in the people and the civilians who's staying at their home and committed to the Israelis' order to not gathering and to not go to some sites to collect some food and some aids. So that's make it unjust to distributing the humanitarian aid in Gaza. Benjamin Netanyahu and his government coalition and the several of Israeli ministers, they are rejecting the notion and denying the starvation in Gaza, while I don't know that the audience should be and the witness should be, accept which story or which narrative. That way, what they are seeing on the ground, that the footage and the picture that leaking from Gaza, that representing the situation, the current situation on Gaza, the people who are suffering from starvation and malnutrition, or we should be believing Benjamin Netanyahu and his rejection and his denying for the starvation in Gaza. All the international community, Western country, there is a massive of there is a wave of protest on the ground in Western country demanding to support Palestine and end the war and for a ceasefire in Gaza and end this kind of war and closure this chapter of conflict, which demanding for two-state solution between Palestinian and Israel as a significant solution between Palestinian and Israel.
Yes, Ali.
Benjamin Netanyahu, it seems that he's in other planet and he's thinking, despite there is even in Israel itself, there is some protest by Israeli. They are supporting Gaza.
Ali, let me just stop you there. Let me just stop you there. That leads us nicely on to our next